In this demonstration, we're going to use the Tableau software program to look at some social service data, and we're going to show you how you can dig a little deeper than you may be used to using a program like Excel. So first of all, Tableau connects to a data program. In this case, this is the Tableau interface, but I also have operating underneath it an Excel database, and the Excel database has some consumer satisfaction data and has an outcome measure. The consumer satisfaction measure that we're going to look at is called recommend, and that is simply whether a client would recommend this social service agency to a friend if the friend was in need. This is the workspace. So you tell Tableau to connect to this Excel spreadsheet or any other source of data. And then Excel guesses from the variable labels in Excel what kind of data you have. And it separates the variables that you can work with into what it calls dimension variables and measures. Dimension variables might be something like independent variables in most research contexts, and measures might be thought of as some sort of outcome or dependent variable in most data scenarios. So there's a couple of things to think about. One is in that in the quality world, we are usually looking at data over time. And so for that, to me, means that in my analyses that I use, I have a date variable. In this case, it's date when the surveys were conducted. And I drag that into column data because I'm going to want to look at the data over time, time being on the x-axis left to right. And that is, so I drag that to date to the column data. And then I drag some of these other variables in other places in order to dig down and look at data. So our outcome of interest that I'm interested in today is the proportion of clients that recommend our agency. And so that's what we have on the y-axis, and on the x-axis we have data over time. So we have several data points where we have asked our consumers this very question. So what these filters and these marks allow us to do is to dig a little deeper into our data. So one thing that I might be interested in doing is knowing whether this outcome of whether consumers recommend this or not differs by gender. So I'm going to create this. So I have this variable named gender name. I'm going to drag that into color under marks, and that gives a different color for both genders. And we can look at whether we can eyeball whether it looks like this consumer satisfaction measure varies by gender. And to me, it doesn't look like it does very much. And it doesn't very much. So I'm going to move gender back over to the dimensions. And I wonder if it's going to vary by ethnicity. So I'm going to move ethnicity over to the color button. And it looks like I might have a little more different kind of action going on here. It looked like that as the agency was able to improve its consumer satisfaction measures over time, that Latinos may have lagged behind other ethnicities. In this case, the whites are the green line, and African Americans are the blue line. So right now it looks like our African Americans may be more satisfied than our Latino clients, and that may be confusing for me, or that may be important for me. But our program has our agency has multiple programs, so I'm going to want to look at this by our agency's programs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take program, and I'm going to drag it over to filter, because I'm going to spend some time filtering my data by program. So our agency has 3 programs: an aftercare program, an outpatient program, and a residential program. Our outpatient program is our biggest program, so I'm just going to filter this data and just look at our outpatient program and see whether this problem with our Latino clients seems to be located in our outpatient program. And it looks like it might be, especially for many quarters when we did our survey. We had a pretty good gap there for a while between Latino clients and our other clients. So now I'm going to click on this filter again, double click on it. I'm going to choose a different program. I'm going to choose our residential program. It's a smaller program, so these estimates of satisfaction may be a little less reliable. And we see that we have a bit of a different and strange-looking pattern in our residential program. First of all, there was a big dip at some point. So something bad might have happened in our residential program that caused people to be particularly unsatisfied for a short period of time. And when it bounced back, it looked like it did bounce back more for African Americans than for Latinos. So right now we may have a gap in consumer satisfaction between our African American white and Latino clients. That's two programs that it looks like we have that problem in. I'm going to double click on that filter again, and I'm going to look just at our aftercare program. And it looks like we don't have that problem in our aftercare program. So we don't have this racial disparity or ethnic disparity in our aftercare program. So now that makes me think, wow, we have some differences across programs. Maybe I should have looked at our gender variable across programs, because maybe we have some hidden gender differences that we'll understand if we'll look at if we look at our different programs. So I'm going to drag in the gender name variable back to color, and I'm going to start again with our outpatient program and see whether we have a gender difference. It's like, oh no, it looks like we don't have a gender difference in our outpatient program. Do we have a gender difference in our aftercare program? Doesn't really look like it. And do we have a gender difference in our residential program? No, it doesn't really look like it either. So now I feel fairly satisfied that I've looked deeply enough at the gender variable for this particular consumer satisfaction outcome. It doesn't look like we have any gender differences. We've also got some worker data. So I'm thinking, wow, we've got data by worker, we've got it by program, we've got it by ethnicity. I'm beginning to wonder whether our problem in the aftercare program and the outpatient program might be worker-driven. Do we have workers that have different levels of consumer satisfaction? So I'm going to drag the worker variable over to color, and you can see it's pretty messy because we have a number of workers. So I'm going to filter that by our program. So I'm going to drag program over to filter, and then I'm going to look at this just by our outpatient program. That takes some of our workers away. But it looks pretty messy and it looks pretty confusing. I note that we have a worker down here in the green color who's Carl, who never got good recommendations from his clients. The agency, it looks like, got rid of him at some point, or he left the agency. And it looks like we had a worker up here, Kevin, who was outperforming his peers in terms of the recommendation. And then we had a bunch of people in here together, pretty close together. It looks like B and it looks like Tony were also getting pretty good marks in terms of recommending the service from their clients. These same workers work in our aftercare program. So I'm just going to expand this to include the aftercare clients. And it does look like we still have some differences here. Carl is still a low performer. This makes it look like B is sort of our top performer here. Kevin was a top performer for a long time. Does anybody really stand out? It looks like Tony does some good work. So now I'm going to filter it again. So we've got aftercare program and we've got outpatient program. And so now I'm going to drag the ethnicity in as well as a filter. And I'm only going to want to look at my Latino clients. So I have two filters going. I have program filter for aftercare and outpatient, and ethnicity for only choosing our Latino clients. And then I'm looking at all of our workers here and to see if somebody is serving Latino clients maybe better than other people. And we got kind of a bit of a mess here. But we do have B, who seems to be doing well with her Latino clients. We have Tony, who was underperforming her Latino clients, and then last quarter really got a good score from her Latino clients. We're looking for our problems, so we do have some people down here, Allie and Rick and Marge, that don't seem to be doing as well with our Latino clients as Tony and Bay and Sal. So we may be able to go to a supervisor of the outpatient or aftercare programs, talk with them, show them this data, talk with these workers and see if we can figure out a reason why 3 of the workers may be doing better with their Latino clients than 3 of our other workers. So this is all an example of how you can use marks, especially the color feature, and filters to dig deeper into social service data, quality data, using the software program called Tableau. Thank you.